I think we kind of covered this. So, what are the big, naturally these conversations sort of lead themselves into circles and there's not really one final answer, but, what's a big step that regulators could make to make the proliferation of crypto or digital assets more in the mainstream? I think we kind of touched on that.
I don't think the regulator will do that. They're reactive. They're not proactive. So I wouldn't have too many hopes about the regulator pushing. What the regulator is going to do is going to observe something happening and going to start to regulate. So the thing needs to happen first. I think we should just make these things happen and break things in some ways, which, by the way, the ICO has kind of done that. That took us to the STO territory. She's getting a bit better, but I wouldn't expect the regulator to do much to create a market.
Yeah, the regulator is protecting, right? It's not enhancing the economy. That's not what its scope is. But I think, what is really important, Alex, and that's your job, you need to fix the user experience, right? This stuff is today not usable for like the ordinary people on the street, right? So that's the point. The whole crypto community is so much into tech, and they don't care about user experience at all, and that needs to change. Otherwise, we will never see mass adoption.
I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, if you look at N26, they became $1 billion digital bank because they simplified the user experience and made it easy. You get a German bank account for free, and it was very simple. It started with just a couple of features. Spot9 wants to definitely simplify your banking, right, as we say, but we don't just want to focus on the experience. We want to also focus on the personalization of your experience, so people can customize and personalize their experience on the products, the features that they can use within our app, or what they want to use. Given a student or a young professional, or let's say an older professional, they have different needs, and so they should be able to customize, and they should have more options available, and they should have more control over their data and transparency over that data with the new open banking or PSD2 movement that's out there. One thing I also want to say about STOs is that I think it's important to look at what type of STOs are coming out, because we have bonds, fixed income instruments, and then we're looking at the profit sharing approach, which is one of the things that Spot9 is looking at. But we want to see the evolution of financial instruments, where we have equity tokens, for example, or we have tokens that are commodity backed, or if you look at stable coins or digital currencies. I think my favorite example of reaction of the regulators is Libra. Where you talk about when you impact money. Governments and central banks and regulators went crazy, and I think Libra as a project really pushed the agenda for in my opinion, for good.
Yeah. Next to being a lawyer, I'm also the vice chairman of the Club of the Optimists. I think we made really good progress. I mean, let's face it, the first STO regulated with BaFin came up in January this year. Now we have the end of the year, 10 months. And we have seen several STOs, we have legal developments on the lawmaker side, and we have a total change that's coming up on the legal side with having digital securities. That's really a dogma in Germany to have the deeds and the paper thing, and they will change it within the next year. And I read in the paper today that there's an initiative on the European level regarding stablecoins. So a lot is moving on, and we have to push it by making things happen in the existing legal framework. And of course, the lawmaker is always running behind. I mean, if you look at the structures now, there are some circumvents, and we make it happen, and the regulator is willing to approve it, and the lawmaker will pass a new bill and adapt the law. And that's good. I mean, the lawmaker will never be in the position that he is pushing the market. The market has to push the lawmaker, and that's very important, so we have jointly to work on that. And from that point of view, I say A lot happened in this year, and more will happen next year, and we are on a good way. And so this is my club of optimists. You can join.
Nina, do you want to share what's happening with Bundesblockverband or some of the other associations that are helping regulators and push the the envelope? I know you're very active. I'd be curious to know what's happening with the Bundestag or with BaFin from the perspective of the associations out there that are trying to educate and get them to do things like a sandbox environment or to be a little bit more innovative.
Yeah, tomorrow the Bundesblock is actually having a paperton. So 2 days of the members gathering and trying to put together their recommendations and positions for the political side, and it will also be joined by a couple of politicians. I'm personally tomorrow at a meeting of IOSCO. IOSCO is the international organization of all the financial regulatory bodies across the globe, because they were interested about some thoughts about consumer protection in that area, and I wrote a little piece about the FATF recommendations and the travel rule that has to do with identifying your customers, and not only your customers but also the ones that they are sending funds to and stuff like that. I have completely different views about that, so they got curious. And then, INATBA is really evolving great. INATBA is that association that the European Commission kicked off a year ago, and it was ultimately founded in March this year. We started with 105 founding members, all from the blockchain space, from tons of micro startups to the large players, banks and SAP and IBM and co. And obviously a number of nonprofits, like the Energy Web Foundation, the Bundesblock is also dabei, the Think Blockchain. And we just had our first large congress in Malaga 2 weeks ago, called Convergence, together with the European Commission. We had about maybe 1,500 people there. A really large group from the governmental side, and I think that's the specific thing about INATBA. It's really a communication tool between the private blockchain industry and the public side, and it's really working out well.